Hello, class. Today we are going to be talking about suffrage, women's rights, and the suffrage movement in the 1920s. We're going to continue what we have been talking about from the transition to World War I, World War II, women's rights, and how women were affected. So we're going to begin with our bell ringer. So what I would like you to do is I want you to take just a couple of minutes. And what I would like you to do is I would like for you to write down everything that you notice in these two pictures. So these are two pictures of two women. I gave you some questions that you can ask yourself if you ran out of things to notice. Can you tell me from what their clothes are, what time period they may be in? Hint, it's what we've been talking about. And do you know who either of these women are? Just by looking, do you know who either of these women are? Okay. Now, I'm going to read you guys some quotes. And I'm going to talk about the two women that you just looked at. So this first quote says, "It is unthinkable that a national government which represents women should ignore the issue of the right of all women to political freedom." Let's read that one more time. "It is unthinkable that a national government which represents women should ignore the issue of the right of all women to political freedom." The second quote is much simpler. It says, "There's nothing complicated about equality." Let's read that one more time. "There's nothing complicated about equality." This was spoken by Alice Paul. This first quote was spoken by Lucy Burns, which, hint, are these two women right here. Alice Paul, Lucy Burns. Two very important women in the suffrage movement, and we will talk about them a lot more when we discuss our book that we read together. First of all, let's look at our vocabulary words. So first of all, we have suffrage, rationing, home front, and World War II. Let's say those, repeat after me. Suffrage. Good. Rationing. Good. Home front. Good. And World War II. Good. Now, I need everybody to get out their class books that we've been reading. You guys had the homework assignment of finishing these up the past weekend. So, let's talk about our books. So, I'm going to ask you guys some questions. First of all, how did the story end? Okay. Women had the right to vote. Good. Was it easy? No, it was not easy. It was not easy. Good. Yeah, good. Do you think that women felt it was worth it? Yeah, I think so too. As a woman, I agree that it was worth it for those women to fight for our rights to vote. Is it necessary that everybody's allowed the right to vote? Yes. Yes, good job, guys. Yes, it is. Absolutely. All right. Let's look at this map right here. Everybody see, we're looking at 1919, which is right when we start our story. So let's look at these states over here in the western and up in the north, northwest, southwest a little bit. By 1918, all of these states right here that are in the peach color women were able to vote. They were fully suffrage. Women were able to vote. All these states right here had suffrage movements happening by 1918. In 1919 is when the 19th Amendment was signed. But in 1918, all of these states already had suffrage. The only other states that were with that are New York and Michigan. Now let's look over here. All these blue states right here, these states had no suffrage movements in them at all. Notice how Alabama is one of those states. So by 1919, there was no suffrage for these states right here, all throughout the East Coast. For these states, New Mexico, Louisiana, Mississippi, Kentucky, and then all up the East Coast, the top of the East Coast right here, these states only had local school elections, not full suffrage, not at all. These states in the light blue color only had presidential suffrage. And that didn't happen until 1919 for all of these states except for Ohio. You look at Illinois, Tennessee, and Vermont, those states had, and Nebraska, those states had presidential and municipal suffrage. That's a hard word for Miss Jones to say. I always struggle with that word. And then if you look at Florida, and I think just Florida, they only had municipal suffrage in charter cities, so bigger cities, like Jacksonville, Tallahassee, things of that nature. Isn't this crazy to look at? Some of these states had no suffrage at all. This was only 100 years ago. It feels like forever ago, but it wasn't. Any questions? All right, let's move on. Alrighty, in your folders, everybody has an empty timeline sheet. This is what we're going to do. This is a virtual field trip that we're about to go on, and it's going to take us through Central New York and through suffrage movements in Central New York. I need everybody to fill out their timeline as they watch, okay? It's a bit of a longer video, but we're going to watch it together. We're going to stop, talk about what we see, and keep going. And it's going to tell us what we're mapping out, okay? All right. This morning, we participated in a gallery walk before we started the timeline. So in our gallery walk, everybody was assigned a different woman from the suffrage movement to talk about. These are some women that I want to point out. Mabel Ping Hu Li. She's of Chinese American descent. She was actually a professor and a minister. Gertrude Simmons Bonin. She was a Native American descent. She helped start the first Native American, she started a Native American, Miss Jones has blanked completely. Ooh, let's think. She started a foundation for Native American women, for them to have the right to vote and to have the right to full freedom like men. And then Sojourner Truth, very, very famous woman in history, African American history, and just women's rights. She fought tooth and nail for women's rights. All three of these women of different descents fought for the rights for women. Very special, very powerful. And let's talk about our service project. So remember, everybody brought in canned food to take to the women's shelter. And each class brought them in, and out of the two classes, your class actually won. You brought in the most canned food. So this is what I want you to do. Take out a sheet of paper, and I want you to write up these 3 questions. Why is it important to serve our community? Why is it important to do for others? What did you observe about this project? So from collecting the cans to bringing them into class to taking them to the women's shelter. How did that work? What did we do? Would you do this project again? Do you think this project was necessary? Did it benefit you? Did it benefit the community? Was it hard? What do you think? Alrighty. Now to answer some of the questions from our discussion post. How did this work with ELLs? Well, for my ELL students, all students were paired into groups. They have a group seating arrangement, but ELLs were paired in heterogeneous groups for the timeline assignment and for any other group work to help with those things. The diversity and culture side of this project, I showed different cultured women who helped progress the suffrage movement, and the book talks a lot about different women. It highlights Alice and Lucy, but it doesn't just talk about them. They just were the forefront of the book, but the book highlights different different cultures and is diverse. And then also we talk about those 3 women. And in this project, I highlighted a white woman, an African American woman, a Chinese American woman, and a Native American woman. So we talked about 4 different cultures within this project. Inclusion of differentiation and mastery. I kept this lesson inclusive by highlighting all sorts of women from different cultures, different jobs, different ages, and different walks of life. All of these women highlighted in this slide are from different walks of life. They're different. Sojourner Truth was older. Mabel Pinckney Lee was actually younger. She was a minister. So that has a religious aspect to it. But all of these women have different things that they did. They were different ages and they were different cultures. Integration of literature. We integrated literature through the book How Women Won the Vote. The students have that book and we read it in class some. They have chapters to read at home that they bring back. And so that integrates the literature heavily. Other subjects, art and ELA. In the virtual field trip, they're going through a museum. So there's a bunch of art to highlight. And then obviously reading the book and writing. They do a lot of writing in this lesson. So those are both other subjects that are highlighted. There's a lot of different strategies. You have your group work, which is with the paired work, inquiry-based learning, as well. And yeah, thank you.